Welcome, everyone, to the show. Tonight, we're going to talk about Marvel Studios' Loki. The season finale went and gone. Oh, my God. So many things that happened there in the end. We're going to talk about the full season as well. Let's meet tonight's cast. First off, we got TV's Casey. We got J Smack.
I hope I go to space one day.
We got Dot Chris.
The human variant.
And I'm your host, Bad Kid Funky Sergio. Guys, so Marvel Studios' Loki dropped, and oh, man. It's incredible the journey we've been on with these Marvel shows, right? We've had WandaVision, we've had Falcon and the Winter Soldier, and they've all taken us through these fantastic voyages, right? And with some heavy topics in Falcon and the Winter Soldier. And here we've got a different topic of time. What is time? What happens through the concept of time through the Marvel universe? What do we do once we get to the end? How do we solve who we are and talk about where we are in the space-time continuum, right? There's so many different themes that go throughout. One of the main things this show was doing was introducing us to the concept of variants, these multiple versions of people throughout the Marvel Cinematic Universe, and the concept of branches in time and different variants of the same person, right? So we have Loki. We have our Loki that we know and love. We have, there's a kid Loki, there's Florida Loki, my favorite alligator Loki.
Florida Loki.
You got old man Loki doing his sorcery magic, boo and everything there. But also, there's something else afoot. We were introduced to the Time Variant Authority, and Casey, if you can take it away in telling us more about the series.
It's 2012. The Avengers are working on their time heist to repair the future that Thanos has caused. And by a freak accident, probably just due to Hulk hating stairs, they sort of bungle the time heist trying to get the Tesseract back. And Loki scoops it up, and he's like, deuces, I'm out. Unfortunately, when he tries to teleport away, he's picked up by a group called the Time Variance Authority, a bureaucratic organization that exists to police the sacred timeline. What they do is they prune timelines by resetting them if any changes or any little offbeat things happen that are against the plan, as the universe is already fated to happen. So anything that falls out of the purview of the way things are supposed to be, they reset it back, they pull the character out of time, and they're called variants, and they put them on a very quick trial, more or less sentence them to execution or other work, and life goes on. Turns out that this Loki was chosen for a specific purpose, and that Mobius thinks that he can get to the bottom of this mysterious character that's out there messing with the TVA, preventing them from taking over timelines and whatnot. It turns out that they got a variant Loki to hunt down an even worse variant Loki, who turns out to be a woman who has renamed themselves Sylvie. So it's a Loki who has completely rebranded their identity, their gender, pretty much everything about their life from an early age, because they were scooped up as a child by the TVA just for being born different, essentially. My takeaway of it was literally everything that transpired with the Loki that we know from the 2012 Avengers and Sylvie was fated to lead them to a very particular place at the end of time. The two of them, they scrap for a little bit. In a way, they're both interested in each other's stories and finding out what their motivations are, why they are the way they are, because it's almost like looking in sort of a cracked mirror or even a funhouse mirror. You're supposed to be the same person. You're supposed to have followed a certain path. And why are you different than what you're supposed to be? And what does that mean for you? They end up escaping the TVA. They find that, there's post-apocalypses that were a way to hide out in, because if a timeline is going to get reset, whether it's the end of the world or something, it doesn't really matter to the TVA. There's tiny little loopholes in the way that existence sort of works. So they escape the TVA, they get recaptured, they're brought before the timekeepers, and it sort of blows up that the whole organization is sort of fraudulent. The timekeepers aren't real, they're just robots that, make themselves look all hoity-toity and send out messages to sort of dictate the terms of what reality should be. All the TVA workers are themselves variant people that are pulled from time just to do menial office labor. And when you get
use.
It's the best. Yeah, it's the best use of people. And then really at the very end of things, even what seems like you being disintegrated or pruned, you're not even destroyed. You're sent to limbo, a place that's at the end of all time. It's almost like a huge temporal garbage dump where just things from different eras, from mismatched timelines, everything goes there. And it's just this huge mess. You've got a Sphinx laying there. You've got variant versions of characters that have managed to survive. A whole bunch of Lokis themselves who have managed to survive. Like five that we get to spend a little time with, and even a dozen more that we see. Broken pieces of Avengers Tower, a Thanos copter. I mean, we discussed a bunch of the Easter eggs last week, or not last week, but last episode when we talked about it. And at the end of time, there's a giant Lost style smoke monster that exists more or less to just consume all this temporal garbage. And they use Sylvie's unique ability to enchant the entity and basically shut down the guard dogs so they can go to this mansion at the very end of time where he who remains is waiting for them. And it's Jonathan Majors, who, if you're keeping score at home with your predictions and whatnot, is slated to play Kang in Ant-Man and the Wasp Quantumania, which comes out either next year or it's in the slate at some point. As far as the Avengers go, they don't really have a ton of villains that are unique to them. Most of the time, the Avengers are fighting villains that are villains of one of the members of the team. Like they'll fight the Red Skull or they'll fight Loki. But Kang is a villain who I believe shows up as early as issue number 8 of Avengers in 1960s. And he's a time-traveling bad guy from the 41st or 31st century, at least 1,000 or 2,000 years in the future, where he's completely conquered the Earth. He's the master of space and time, everything about his domain. And he did it by winning battle after battle and defeating every single enemy he's ever come across. But more important to who Kang is as a character is that he's lived under many different guises as a time traveler. He existed in the time of the ancient pharaohs on Earth as Rama-Tut. He exists at the very end of time as a scholar whose time fighting and conquering things is over as Immortus, a warrior under a different alias who has fought essentially variants of DC's superheroes in the Squadron Supreme in the guise of the Scarlet Centurion. He's gone back in time to try and be a good guy as Iron Lad. At one point, there was even a young Immortus or a kid Immortus, just to overly complicate things. A Mr. Quang, a businessman, Mr. Timely, a turn of the century, hot diggity dog, P.T. Barnum type. You name it, Kang has been in that time era, and there's so many different versions of him. You guys know the Council of Ricks from Rick and Morty?
Yeah.
They took that from Kang. In Marvel Comics, there existed a group called the Council of Kangs, which was just a bunch of Kangs from different universes that came together to police themselves. It's funny stuff, the way that you see that comic book stuff is permeated of all time. I should also mention, and thank you to Soul Ghetto Guy, his name is Nathaniel Richards. And at different times, he's claimed to be both a descendant of Mr. Fantastic, Fantastic Four, and Doctor Doom. So Kang has got his hands in a lot of different pies in a lot of different franchises, but primarily he's been an antagonist of the Avengers as a whole. I loved Kang for a long time, and as excited I was to see Thanos as sort of the be-all, end-all big bad of these Marvel movies, I have been dying to see Kang the Conqueror.
Damn, Casey, that was a good ass explanation. Holy shit!
Listen, sometimes I just do my best work.
Bro, man,
I kept thinking that Kang the Conqueror was that like brain thing in the middle of the Ninja Turtles film.
Kang! Oh yeah.
More like Krang the Conqueror.
Multiverse. Yeah. Multiverse.
Yeah.
Kang.
So that just totally blew my mind.
So incredible. I'll get you, Turtles. It's so crazy that we see that the two Lokis get to the end of time, and in the Citadel stands a man. And I think general audiences were kind of confused as to what was happening. I mean, we have this general human being looking dude who's like, hey, I've been expecting you. Kind of like the architect in the Matrix. Hello.
Yeah. That's exactly what it is.
You know, he's 100%. Just like, I've been controlling everything for all of time, forever. This episode kind of serves as like a segue to the next part of the Marvel Cinematic Universe. But guys, when we got to the Citadel, and I want to know your reactions when the doors opened up and you saw Jonathan Majors. You saw he who remains, right?
He's yes, but he's also Immortus.
Immortus, yeah. But for the sake of time of the episode, I'll have you go into that. We have He Who Remains at the end of time, which Miss Minutes was talking about. And he's just like, oh, she still calls me that? Okay.
Ominous, right? Super cool.
Very, very ominous. So, guys, what was your reaction of seeing this guy at the end of time?
I felt like we hit the end of the Yellow Brick Road and we were ready to enter the Emerald City. I don't know. It was... I kind of expected it was going to be something along these lines. Like, it was like, all right, cool. Like, what we thought was going to happen, or what the TVA said was going to happen was not going to happen. And it was going to be something subversive. And it's just this one dude hanging out, knowing all. I don't know, man. It's such an abstract concept that they're going for, and I get it. It's just weird because most of the finales that we've gotten in all the Marvel movies, and especially in these shows, like there has been some big epic fight, something like that. So I'm kind of glad that they didn't necessarily go that way, and it was I felt like it was more of a fizzle than like an explosion type of deal. But the whole point of what was about to happen was not necessarily important to the end of the show, but to really set up things that were to come.
I've got some secret and unfortunate news for you.
You know what? I want you to drop that secret and unfortunate news for me.
A lot of people I know are like, okay, this is an interesting season finale, but I feel like it's only half the story. And the answer is, you're almost certainly right, because production really hit a jam when COVID happened.
Oh, wait, there was supposed to be more?
The original plan was for 12 episodes.
Oh, that makes so much sense now. Because
it sure does, doesn't it?
Dude, for six episodes, this really felt like there should have been more. And for there to be a stinger at the end for season 2, oh, that's crazy. But Jay, when we get to the end of time and we see this guy here, and he's talking about like the universe and multiverse. What was your reaction when the doors opened up? You're just like, well, what's going on here?
Rewind a little bit, rewind time, if you would. So we get back to them clearing out. What's the smoke monster's name again? What?
Alioth.
Alioth. Thank you. He's like a rather large beast. And no, just so you guys know, I'm not going down Full Metal Alchemist road right now. I promise you, I'm actually not.
I don't trust you.
You shouldn't trust me, but I'm not. It's kind of like being Loki right now, right? Like I'm telling you should trust me, but you can't. Anyway, has anybody played Final Fantasy VIII?
Yes.
I love where this is going.
This is Final Fantasy VIII. This is the end of Final Fantasy VIII. You get to some weird, end of space time, and you have somebody who's trying to kind of compress all of time together. That is literally what Ultimeca, the final sorceress in Final Fantasy VIII, was trying to do. And she's trying to.
Is that how you say it? I always said it as Ultimecia, but I feel like it's been too long.
Dude, I have no idea, man. I mean, I called it Ultimeca. It's probably Ultimecia. Listen, my dad is from Canada.
Leviosa.
Who knows? But it very well could be. Now I'm questioning my entire reality. Thanks, Casey.
Sorry.
That's what TVA is all about.
Oh no, it's unraveling.
Oh no, but no, this is the end of Final Fantasy VIII, and I'm watching this and I'm like, this is really familiar. First thinking that again, it was the Matrix, right? It's the architect at the end. I'm like, no. I was like, the castle gave off the exact same vibes as the castle did in Final Fantasy VIII. I said, oh, that big, beast in the beginning with Alioth. That's like Bahamut, or like one of the the bosses that you have to fight throughout the castle.
Yeah,
big exactly. So I'm like, oh Jesus, like this is getting Crystal Twitch, you can't pronounce, writes it in Japanese for me. Thank you. Appreciate it. But no, this is I could only think of this the entire time. Now finally, when we get to Jonathan Majors, I'm like, he is perfectly quirky in this. He is not, this big My expectation, because again, I just watched the movies. I didn't really dive into the comics all that much.
Sure.
He is a goofball, right? And you're right, Casey. He is from the 31st century, so he's basically the same time Philip J. Fry is existing.
Right.
Futurama.
I thought for a hot second he was wearing Crocs, but I was mistaken. They're just sandals. They're just sandals.
But yeah, he's nice and weird, man. And he was a lovable kind of anti-villain, if you would, right? Because he's not necessarily a bad guy. He's not necessarily the conqueror that everybody expected to, show up. He's somebody who had to do what he needed to do, and now this is how he's living out the rest of his time, basically. Right. I did see a nice little kind of conspiracy about this, or a theory, if you would, that the moment where he's dropping his pen, right after he sits down, he's talking to them, he's going through, and he's like, I can't see really beyond this time. One, I'm like, oh, that's kind of like the ancient one, they can't see or predict what's happening after this moment of time. But two, this could be roughly around the same time that the Scarlet Witch is actually getting her power.
I've got an even better thing for that.
You got a better one than that? Like,
you are.
Here's the thing: when he drops his pen, right? Who's the witch that the Scarlet Witch fights?
Agatha Harkness.
Agatha.
She falls. You know what I mean? If you're running it at the same time, if you're running the two episodes together at the same minute marker.
The same minute marker.
Those both
27 minutes and 30 seconds. Scarlet Witch becomes the Scarlet Witch, and he finally realizes that something has changed.
Yeah.
What? No.
Yeah.
Oh, come
so
on.
So spooky. Yes.
Yep. Super cool. I was like, this is chef's kiss right now. It's like reading into this.
They're playing all of that out like that, but they couldn't give us more episodes.
I don't know. Listen,
I know.
Now, hold on a second. I don't know if it's just a coincidence, because a lot of these Marvel shows and things are all planned in advance. A lot of the way the script writing and stuff goes is, I don't want to call it boilerplate, but
certain things have to happen on certain stages.
Certain things have to happen at certain times. Yep. I feel like the timing of a lot of things is deliberately a certain way. And in this case, I feel like if you're writing the climactic finale of an episode, the 27-minute, 30-second mark is where you have something big happen.
Yeah.
That could just be what it is. Has anybody gone back to check what Falcon and Winter Soldier happens in the, 27-30 mark?
Oh.
Who knows? I didn't check. I was implying something, but I actually had nothing. But regardless, I think the timing is very fun, very coincidental, because obviously the show is setting up for Multiverse of Madness, as is Spider-Man coming in December, as is, everything else. Like it's all coming together.
I mean, you couldn't, you thought it wouldn't get any better than Endgame,
right?
You know what I mean? Or at least it would just totally fizzle out. But they're really trying to flare it up again, which is really cool.
Right.
Yeah, it's insane now. Like Marvel can do anything and everything because and let's rewind a little bit. So it's interesting, the scene that happens before time gets all displaced and shattered, right? You have Sylvie and Loki sitting there, and you have he who was there at the end of time, he who remains, talking to them about the choices and how everything was happening. Now, we got a huge exposition dump, and I'm just like, yo, did Marvel get, the writers from Transformers to come in here and be like, listen, we need to wrap everything up in a bundle. You guys are really good at this, just dropping exposition dumps, just telling, not showing. But they did show it in a very clever way that kind of reminded me of, the Wakandan beads, the way... things are portrayed like that. So I'm like, I wonder if there's a version of him that's from Wakanda. I think that actually would be really dope. He's from the 31st century Wakanda. Yeah, because when he's doing his exposition dump and he has his visuals, they kind of look like the Koya beads and the black holograms. I'm like, that looks really familiar. That's interesting. And
That
and,
would
and
be
his
something.
and on his hand, he's wearing like a disc, but I'm just like, is that like a 31st century version of the beads from Wakanda? That'd be interesting.
Are all the little TemPads just Wakandan technology?
Exactly,
Right.
exactly. And I think I'm the only one in the show who can say, "Yep, all black people from Marvel come from Wakanda." 'Cause I know someone's gonna make that comment like, "Oh, he comes from Wakanda." All black people from
I don't
Wakanda.
honestly. I know. See, I think it's a brilliant idea.
Let me
but
see under your lip.
I also don't know if it's worse if all the black people in Marvel Comics
Come
are
from
related.
Wakanda, right? He's a black guy at, at the end of time, and he's from Wakanda.
I mean, look, we got Monica, and she's pretty removed from Wakanda.
Grandparents from Wakanda.
No,
Everyone's from Wakanda. I mean, it's pretty dumb. It's
just
pretty dumb.
let them be a mysterious, isolated African nation.
They're all from. The only podcast I can say every black person in Marvel is from Wakanda. That's great. I love. You can't say that, Jeremy Johns, Chris Stuckman, those nerds at SCN, you nerds at IGN. Y'all can't say that. I can say that. None of y'all nerds in the movie space can say that stuff except for me. Oh man, maybe you forget from Jersey Corner.
Just black nerd comedy. He's got the corner. He's got the corner market on it.
And Jody's Corner, yeah. Oh man, that's great. But yeah, I think it's an interesting concept of how he came to be, and it was really shocking to me that at the end of time in the Citadel sits this like human being. I'm like, wait a minute, he can't just be a human, and he is. He's like, the way he explains it, he's in the 31st century of our Earth, and he's.
I think the Marvel Wiki lists him as apparently human.
Oh, really? So there's like a kind of like a fudge thing where it's like, well, he's not really, he's apparently.
I mean, look, as far as I'm concerned, Kang is a human who just, he's just lived a really long time.
Yeah.
He time travels and he's had a lot of experience.
And the loose explanation of like he used like a Goliath, like he harvested Goliath's resources or whatever the hell, like his Protoss pylons to construct himself like a long life. I'm like, wait, what? What explanation is that? That was the only problem I had with that whole scene. It's just like, okay, this big explanation dump. How about we spend more time getting to this guy
looking at it
and not having an exposition dump? I mean, episode 3, man, like when they're just like trying to build their relationship together. Whatever. But I like the moral choice they have where he who remains is like, listen, all this was preordained. There's a whole script here. You can take a look at it. I know what you're going to do. Don't you think it's kind of odd how I know where you're going to land your sword swing and I can move and dodge because I know what you're going to do and what you're going to say. But there comes a time where I don't know what's going to happen. And I thought that was pretty dope. And he's like, listen, you have a choice here. You can either run this thing. You guys run this thing, There's the, the illusion of choice, or you could kill me, Sylvie, as, you're a bloodthirsty person who wants revenge because you were taken from your own time. I get it. And this whole thing crumbles, and there's more of me that are going to come through, and they're all bent on war. So take your pick. And Sylvie's like, there's no choice. I mean, she just about, like New Jersey Shore pulled off her shirt. Okay, we're going to go then. We're going to freaking go. There's no choice here. I'm taking off my shirt. We're going to go, buddy. Let's go, bud. I'm just like, because she immediately was like, all right, cool. I'm going to kill you. And then Loki's just like, whoa, wait. And I love what he said. He's like, listen, what happens when you remove a dictator? Let's just think about that for a second. I'm like, yo, true. Because even in our own world, what happens when you remove a dictator? Something worse comes through. Somebody even worse.
There will always
the man takes a penis rocket to space. Oh.
Stupid Bezos. There's always somebody worse that comes through, and it's been true in our actual lives. You remove a certain leader or destroy them or whatever, and somebody worse comes through, a whole family comes through. It's nuts. So our Loki's like, yo, think about this for a moment. What if he's telling the truth? What if we destroy him and something worse happens? What's going to happen to him all the time, everywhere? And Sylvie's like, I don't care about that. I need to kill him. My life is taken away. And I love that Human Man, she's just like, grow up, murderer. We're all villains. We're all villains here.
We're bad guys. We're bad guys. We're all bad guys.
It was so great.
Come on.
It was so good. Oh my God. He's just like, come on, man. Let's Joe Biden. Come on, man. And then this fight ensues in which Loki's trying to be like, listen, I don't want to kill you. I don't want to fight you, but we need to think about this. And Sylvie's like, yo, you took everything from me. There's the guy. This is my glorious purpose. Get out of the way or I'm going through you. And because she's a superior fighter, because of reasons, she kind of overpowers him. And I would have liked if that fight, and let me get you guys' thing on this, the decision making. I would have liked if the fight was more like trickster magic based, because they met other versions of themselves. And our Loki, he was just like, "Yo, you mean I can do this crazy amount of magic if I just really study, put my mind to it?" Because this old Loki's like, I mean, we've all essentially like lived about the same time except for old Loki, I think, and we could do all this stuff. So instead of having
old Loki seems to imply that he was kind of on his own for hundreds, maybe 1,000 years. Like he was just off in space, like just doing his own thing until he got lonely.
Loki's in space,
just chilling. And to me, I'm like, it ends off with like a regular dagger fight. I mean, that works for like, Falcon the Winter Soldier. I mean, Wanda used magic in her fight. I mean, let's use magic here. But what did you guys think of that scene where there was a choice to be made, where He Who Remains is like, listen, through all of time, I've known what's happened. I don't know what's going to happen. There are two choices here. So let's go with Chris. What do you think of that scene?
I don't know. I think that whole piece was super long and drawn out. I don't. Again, editing wise, I really think this whole thing should have been just like a 2-hour movie. There was so much stuff that was just drawn out, and I was just like, cool. You gonna get to the point?
Please, sir, may I have some plot?
Yeah.
A crumb of plot, sir, please.
And whatever. Again, we all knew where it was. We all pretty much knew where it was gonna go. I think I disagree with you on the fight thing. That fight, I think that the essence of Loki's kind of like magic for the most part is that he like manipulates he does like illusions and like how we perceive things. So I think that's tough to actually show like a big fight along those lines. So I whatever. It was fine. I was like glad something was happening after like half the episode was just He Who Remains just expositioning the whole time.
Yeah.
Yeah, I was just like one way or the other. Just do something. Just anything would be great. So
what was your thought on the choice they had to make and the end result?
Local ruin ruins everything.
You'll get your turn. You'll get your turn, Casey. Jeez, let Chris go.
No, it was the right choice. I mean, it was the right choice for the character. Everything that character did, everything Sylvie was doing was her one sole purpose. She was always laser focused on, this is the plan, this is what I'm going to carry out. And she's the Loki that's been willing to cross the line all along. Like, she was murdering people for years. So I think it stayed true to that character. I feel like, actually, I even thought that fight should have just been a longer argument. Like, they should have actually like verbalized that argument back and forth. And I know I'm saying that as hypocritical because I just talked and complained about how He remained to like talk for like forever. But yeah, I mean, sure, she made a decision. She went for it, and cool. It set up the chain reaction of Phase 4. That's all I got to say.
Boom, Jay. So there's a choice to be made. You either take down He Who Remains or lose no choice. What do you think about that scene, and what do you think about the final decision that was made?
I like the idea of illusion of choice. I don't want to be responsible for anything. But I think that decision that she made ultimately was the right one because I get to go to the movies more often now, right? If she just like listened to him and said, okay, like that would have been the end of all of the Marvel Cinematic Universe. So, we get more movies because of the choices she made, because she killed a guy, poked him in the belly. We get to go to sit down and eat popcorn and enjoy this. So I like it. I don't know, man. It's one of those things. It's like the obvious thing that she's going to do. You know what I mean? Sometimes I wish that they would go with either the obvious, like, all right, I wish for this in movies often, right? Is that they end the movie within 5 minutes. Obviously, that's not going to happen. But I wish that, like, the bad thing that they were supposed to stop just gets stopped and it doesn't drive the plot any further. I think that would be funny sometimes. Some movie director, producer, make that happen. It'd be really good.
They could probably get away with it if they brought back those little DVD extra, like short film things,
Yeah.
like with like the little Mandarin extra and
Yep.
stuff like that.
Exactly. But sometimes for them to not do the obvious thing would be cooler as well. You know what I mean? If she actually did talk it through and they just walked away and then, they drive the plot in a different direction. He who remains actually does open it up anyway, or he kills himself and does it. You know what I mean? That was always another possibility, is that he gave them, again, another illusion of choice. Like they were going to pick, you pick illusion of choice, or you pick that you have to take it over and do it yourself or deal with the consequences. And then he's like, just kidding. It's not your choice anyway. And then he kills himself, and then he opens up, that whole can of worms. That would have been cool too. I think that would have been a little bit graphic for Disney Plus though. So I think they picked the right path.
You might say.
Yeah, but I don't know. It again, I don't really care of how they did it, as long as I get more movies and more Loki and more smashies and stuff like that, then I'm cool with it.
Nice.
Yeah.
And Casey, what are your thoughts?
Well,
There we go.
everybody who hated Star-Lord at the end of, or in the middle of Infinity War, for goofing up everything and not just killing his girlfriend so that Thanos couldn't get, another thing out of him. Sylvie's just like, he's like, hey, if you kill me, there's going to be another multiversal war, something that I already stopped. And there's going to be a lot of meaner, a lot of nastier versions of me out there.
And then he gets brought back to be the same.
Right. And he's like, hey man, but either way, like there'll be another version of me to fix and stop all of it at the end of time. So, do what you got to do, man. I won't stop you. And he's just really interested to see what comes next. And sure enough, stabs him right in the chest, and he's like, "Be seeing you, baby." And he gives a little jaunty wink, dies, and before you know it, everything turns around, and there's statues of Kang the Conqueror just hanging, and nobody remembers who Loki is, which is great because it falls into that whole thing about the devil, where it's like, oh, the greatest trick the devil ever pulled was convincing people he didn't exist. So fun little thing there, tying it back to the whole devil window at the beginning. How do I feel about the choice they made? I love it because I knew that's the choice that had to be made. And, I'm ready for more. I'm ready for some Kang, baby. I'm ready for Kang in an Avengers movie. I'm ready for a Kang in a Young Avengers. I'm ready for Kang here, there, and everywhere.
Kang and some tang. Yeah. All right. What?
We already went to space, Jay. Jeff Bezos went to space. He probably had some tang.
That's true.
I thought it was I really liked the stakes at the end, especially when he kind of hammered home, like, listen, if you don't want to run this whole thing and keep the illusion of choice and everything's kind of safe, and you end me, then there's going to be all the versions of me coming, and they're bent on war. And if anyone knows who King the Conqueror is, you know that there's a version of him that's hell bent on destroying the other universes and being talked.
I'm a bad dude. I'm many bad dudes.
Almost like Jet Li in The One, right? Like he just wants to become the one and conquer everything. But yeah, I thought it was a great choice there. And Chris, I agree with you. There was a lot of exposition dumped there, and I was just happy like when it kind of broke and they did something. But I really think they should have spent more time figuring out how to not make that an exposition dump. And maybe that was a byproduct of the COVID shoot, because that's what they were left with, and they're just like, well, we're supposed to have 12 episodes, we got cut down to 6. Damn, we got to rework all this stuff. But I don't know. In the end, I figured they should have done something where we just don't get. I mean, exposition dumps seem lazy, they seem boring, and we hold Marvel up to a higher standard of like storytelling and story weaving. You know what I mean?
Marvel, I hold you responsible for this.
No, seriously. And it also sucks to be in this space because we kind of know the titles of things. We know when we see Jonathan Majors, he's cast as Kang the Conqueror. It's hard to keep certain things away from the trades, right? So when you see him, you kind of know. And for the general audiences who don't keep up with this stuff, we're like, oh, who's this guy? And we need to explain the whole thing. Oh, that kind of makes sense. So I guess for general audiences, it's fine, because I know some people who don't follow any of this stuff, and we're like, oh, so that's who that is. Oh, okay, that makes sense. Sort of. A little bit, So I do want to credit Jeremy Johns with this because I think this is a really good idea. Like, what if the Doctor Strange movie had a different title, right? Like, what if it was like put out to the trades that it was Doctor Strange, the Sorcerer Supreme, or something like that. And then at the end of this episode, right, it changes. So instead of the post-credit scene stinger where it says Loki comes back for season 2, you know, it says you know, the choice is made at the end. Sylvie kills he who remains, and then the multiverse goes all crazy. And we're talking about the ending, and then in the stinger it says Loki returned for season 2. But I like Jeremy John's idea where he said instead of it, you know, being the title we know, it goes Loki returning, Doctor Strange, the Sorcerer Supreme. But and then it flips and it turns and magic happens and it says Doctor Strange in the multiverse of madness. I was like, oh shit, that's a good way to do
awesome.
that. How crazy, how bananas would that reveal have been? You're like, wait a minute.
If they change the title of the movie in the movie.
And in the end of Loki, in the stinger there, instead of it being Doctor Strange the Sorcerer Supreme, it changes by magic. The letters turn and it says Doctor Strange multiverse of madness.
That would be so rad.
That'd be really good.
Insane.
Big fan of that.
I mean, like Jeremy John's credit for that, but I was just like, damn, Marvel. I know you guys are thinking of stuff, and I'm not saying that the writers and you know Kevin Feige is asleep at the wheel, but I mean, this guy's not paid. He's on payroll to think of stuff like that, and he's just like, yo, would have been nuts if this happened. I'm like, that's an incredible idea. Incredible idea. I would have lost my mind, but because I knew what was coming, I was like, yeah. What I do like is the ending of the episode, right? Like I kind of like Planet of the Apes type thing. So Sylvie, you know, fights with Loki. She kills Kang. He who remains, or Immortus, and then sends Loki back. Also, rewind. How did she send him back? She had like
It's rewind time. She took Kang's personal temp head. He put it on the desk in front of him because he's like, I don't need this anymore because I don't know what's gonna happen.
I blinked and I missed that. Okay. So she sends him back, and we get to Loki back on the TV, and he's just like, damn, I can't believe what happened. That's kind of messed up.
Oh, I can't believe I kissed myself, and I kind of liked it, and now she doesn't like me anymore.
Oh, yeah, rewind. Ray Finkel laces out. So what do we think about that? I mean, the whole relationship thing culminating to this quote-unquote romantic moment. What was your guys' take on that?
It's dumb.
It's a little weird.
I think that it is a little weird, and I feel like what we saw up until that point, we talked about it before, was like it would have been better if it was like, you know, just a mutual friendship would have been fine, and it wasn't like either of them were looking for that, or like that they even dropped like hints that outside of literally just one moment saying, "Do you have someone?" Nope, cool, and then moving on, just being curious about one another. I feel like it just didn't matter. Like there was no big payoff. It didn't really build on anything. He's already seeing a different version of himself, and that on its own is interesting enough. You don't have to try to throw in a love story. You
don't have to throw in a help step, Loki, I'm stuck kind of, you know, scenario. Oh, okay.
Oh my gosh. Yeah. It felt like the same thing. I don't know if anyone has seen the Van Helsing movie. Yes. With Wolverine, whatever his name is, like
Jack Human.
Jack Human, you know.
Jack Human. It's huge Ekman.
Huge jacked man.
Huge jacked man.
Like the end of that one, they also were just like, oh, by the way, they're in love, so they kiss, and then it's the end of the movie and it's done. And it kind of just felt like that, where it didn't feel like it was earned. Like the friendship between them, and like the finally like trusting someone, which is really just trusting yourself because they're the same, the different versions of the same thing,
right,
is a much more interesting idea than making out with the female version. Also, after they already established that Loki is bisexual as well, if you're gonna drop that and not actually follow through on that statement, and do something that is not that it's not contrary, and that you have to go, if you say that you're bisexual, you have to be with someone that is the same gender as you. But it's just like, why make a statement like that and then not follow through on anything and just have, cool, I'm just going to have a cis kiss because we thought we wanted to have it. That it just felt, again,
I remember when Sergio and I have been talking about these fucking movies for years, all the way back to 2015.
Yeah, baby.
And I remember one of your chief complaints, or maybe it was Greg, one of you guys was like, Why do they always got to stick a fucking romance plot in these movies?
That was me.
Like, can't we? Yeah, it is you. Okay, and it's like can't we just have like a half decent action movie? And I feel like this was a little unnecessary. Like, if you met a version of yourself, even a girl version of yourself, like, are you really gonna is that gonna be one of your
I would be
instincts? It's just
disgusted.
like, I wanna.
Okay. If you made it this far in the video, hit the subscribe button. Do it. I am not fucking playing with you. Hit the fucking button.
Would you really just like? Would that be one of your first instincts to just like get busy with your female self?
No.
It's a little weird. Like, you want to know, like, all right, cool. I was born a lady. I wonder what's really different about my life. Not like,
But
yeah, I
also,
wanna hit
Loki's
that.
a huge narcissist, so that kind of tracks.
Yeah, but they
Yeah.
did. I feel like again they didn't build it enough. He was too like, oh my gosh, there are multiple versions of me, and I feel like the conversations and what they had didn't really build enough on that. It was trying to build trust. They were literally like trying to build trust the entire time, and then all of a sudden they cross like several lines beyond that in a
Yeah.
very short amount of time. I have no problem with romances and things as long as it serves the plot of the overarching journey, and I don't think that this kiss did at
Yeah.
all.
I mean, I don't think that Sylvie was really into it. I think that she really just kind of used it as a means to an end to
Mhm.
distract this obviously emotionally compromised man who's like, hey, maybe we shouldn't roll the dice on, infinite worlds becoming horribly worse than this. Like we should really just think about it for a hot minute. And she's like, nah, revenge. Revenge.
Yeah, I do feel like it was forced. I don't think they earned it, and it's. I wonder if this is a mandate from some studio exec, right? Like, there's always seems to be some kind of thing where it's like, okay, we got a female in this movie, gotta have romance. I mean, they did it with Black Widow.
Oh yeah,
and Banner. Like, it was just so odd. It came out of nowhere.
That's
it
the.
was so
I
odd.
don't know a single person that likes that, because it's like, should the Hulk have a relationship? It's like, yeah, I mean, why not? You don't really see it in a lot of stuff other than him obsessing over Betty. But then you have Black Widow go, "We're both monsters," and it's like, stop. You're a human being.
Well, you have some producer, some high up that's like, oh, this is gonna sell more tickets if we have a love story in it, right? Because that's what people like. Like, man, it's just like they're disillusioned. Or delusional. I don't know. They're just like, yeah, this is what people want. Like, they're just so out of touch sometimes that they have to drive this weird part of the story that doesn't. It's not necessary.
Corporate loves it.
Yeah.
Yep.
Corporate loves it.
Corporate loves it. And that's what it seems like too. Like, it seems like this mandate of, we have a character. Like I said, one of the other episodes we did, we have an interesting character in Sylvie, right? I mean, she was taken from Asgard in her time when she was a child. She escaped the clutches of the TVA. I mean, but before, what's her name? She was a judge.
Ravana.
Judy.
Yeah. She escaped the clutches of Ravana when she was out there in the field, and she was a skilled fighter and everything. Sylvie, took her timepiece, and then she found a way to hide from the TVA in apocalypses at the ends of worlds throughout time.
Yes.
She hardened and steeled herself, and she had this.
What a great concept,
dude! It's such an incredible
really
plot.
cool.
Like that was one of the best plot points. It's like, holy, she's been hiding in apocalypses. That's so badass, and it's as if someone in the executive was like, that's cool, but she's a female. We need her to kiss. We need her to fall in love and kiss. You know what I mean? That's cool and all. You guys,
We need her to turn into a bimbo.
Yeah, you nerds came up with a cool concept in the writing room. A nice backstory, whatever. But who she kiss? She's a dame. She's a broad. We need her to kiss.
You know what it is. In every show that exists on TV, there's always an episode that's like, this is one of the writers' very thinly veiled fetishes on TV, and he's probably like, yo, what if like Loki like kissed himself? Like girl Loki, like they just got together, like they just like kissed and stuff.
True. Because what I forget the guy's name who worked on the Nickelodeon shows in iCarly, but he had a foot.
Dan
fetish.
Schneider,
that vile like lizard person. He
absolute disgusting human being.
One of the things about him was that he had like a foot fetish. So in those freaking Nickelodeon shows with kids, like he would like have them do stuff with their feet. And it's just like,
Yeah, that's weird.
yeah, incredibly
Like, what
weird.
would you do?
And the way he always described it was like kids think feet are funny, and it's like, all right, pal.
And it was secretly
Yeah, but you
just
don't.
like his
Yeah.
fetish. Yeah. Another thing he did was the girl who played on iCarly, the girl who played Sam across from Miranda Cosgrove, she had an eating disorder. He knew this, and he made her character obsessed with food, so she was always eating.
Ugh.
How messed up is that? Like,
Yeah,
what
that's
a
fucked
what a
up.
vile lizard person, dude.
Dude,
Crazy.
people think that he's like the actual father of Jamie Lynn Spears' baby.
Oh, gee, whoa.
Oh,
This podcast is turning into an
You can't, dude. You can't bring up
Yeah,
Schneider
Bezos,
without
dude.
some-
Welcome to People Magazine, the podcast.
Yeah,
yeah,
yeah.
100%. Holy shit. But yeah, no, the
It's real
point was is
crazy.
that, like maybe it was someone's face. Someone's like, yo, they got to kiss. And some of the writers
Yeah.
were like, what? That's not how we want
Yeah.
this to go. Yo, they got a smoochy boochies, dude. Let's freaking go. And it's just like, that's weird. That's the weirdest part of the show. And also the most, like, it's the least interesting part of the show, and they so forced it. And when the kiss like, I saw some reactions online from certain YouTubers, and some of them liked it. They're like, "Oh, it's so great when they kiss in the end." Was it really? Was it detrimental to the
though?
story? Yeah, was it detrimental to her story? Did anything come of it in the end? No. So it was kind of just thrown in there. I don't know. But the ending though, Loki ends up in the TVA, right? And he's just like, "Oh crap, I gotta do something." Finds Owen
Yep.
Wilson, and he finds the other TVA agent. He's like, oh, you guys, something's happening. Something's coming. They're like, whoa. And
The multiverse. They're all the branches.
There's a very terrible person, and there's a bunch of him coming, and they're all bent on war. And Owen Wilson's character, Mobius, is like, wait, okay, you're an analyst. Calm down. You use your training. Like, who are you? And he's like, no, who are you? And you're like, it's happening. It's already happening.
And then it pans to the statue of where the timekeepers were, and it's Kang the Conqueror.
And it's Kang the Conqueror, a Planet of the Apes style ending where it's like, you bastards, you did it. You blew it all up. You did, you
blew it
maniacs.
all up.
Dude, it's such
Can we
a
agree that
great
Mobius
ending.
deserved better in that ending though?
Mobius
deserved
didn't-
a jet ski.
There was not nearly enough like that just quick thing where he just is like, cool, who are you? Like, come on, give him a little bit more to do than that. That was too quick.
One of our beloved viewers, Alex Toomey, who is not in the chat tonight, gave me the best thing about Owen Wilson in that about Mobius in that he is a variant of Owen Wilson,
Yeah,
True.
that was-
the actor. Like, why not?
Yeah.
Why not? You
Hmm.
know?
Yeah.
wow.
Wow. But yeah, the Planet of the Apes style statue ending where it's either the end. Like, what were you guys' reaction when that happened?
it was like, all right.
I cried a little.
Oh,
I
of
was
course.
very excited. It was everything I dreamed of. It was a Marvel show that finally, like, really didn't jerk you around, and you felt like all your theories were validated. It all came true.
Do you guys want to know my real reaction to it?
Yes.
Yeah.
Like my honest take? Ready? Watching it, right? Just watching it, and then they reveal that it's Kang the Conqueror. Oh. That was it.
That's it.
Nice.
I'm not going to tell you I was super blown
simply-
away. I was just
He
like,
simply
oh,
exists.
yeah, all right.
Yeah. I
I never
also
expected that.
I also was just like, oh, that's the end. That's how they're gonna. It just felt like there was no. I felt like there was no finale. It just all happened so fast, and then all of a sudden it was like, oh, we're here. And
Yeah, I
the
feel a
show's
little
ended.
robbed.
It was just like, oh, okay.
Yeah.
All right. It's like they cut. When there's the radio cuts off the song before it's done.
Yeah.
It's just like, oh, it's okay. We're in a commercial now. All right. And that's all I'm going to get of Owen Wilson at the end of this. That's
Yeah.
it. That's
No
it.
jet ski, no
No jet
resolution,
ski.
no nothing. And again, ladies and gentlemen, the answer is it's only half of a season.
Yeah, it feels like it because that ending there. I love how Jay's reaction is just like like Jeff Goldblum, like, well, there it is.
There it is.
And
There it is. Yeah, and that's kind of felt too. I was just like,
Dobbins?
oh, they're doing like a Planet of the Apes style ending. Okay, that's interesting. Let's go. But I was just like, yeah, and then it ended. I'm like, oh,
Yeah.
oh, it just ends. Oh, and that's it. I mean,
It's
no
over.
more. Oh,
How about a post credits? Maybe Loki will return for season 2.
and I was just like,
Yeah,
oh,
I don't even think I had the patience to find that at the end. I was just like, all right, whatever.
Oh,
Like,
so
thought
you
it-
shut it off. How
Oh, I
about
fast forwarded.
Yeah, I mean, it sucks because like COVID did put a damper on it, but it's just like, guys, like, billion-dollar company, you got to do better than that ending. I'm sorry, you got to do better than ending. You got to like not waste our time with a fucking episode where it's just like them two, where you're forcing relationship, and it's so.
Yeah.
It was episode 3 where they were just sitting around. It's really
train
freaking
episode, right?
boring. The train thing we're wasting time with Loki, who's supposed to be stealthy on this train, is singing like songs and stuff as if he's back in Asgard.
Asgardian show tunes, baby.
Yeah, Asgardian show tunes, as if, they came back from some glorious battle and they're just like having revels and stuff like that. I'm like, what is happening here?
Dude, I love revels.
I mean, I like revels too, but it was like, I was like, this is a gigantic waste of, it was anime filler. It was absolute anime filler. Meanwhile, coming up, we have a huge exposition dump with Kang the Conqueror, with Immortus there at the end. And I'm just like, why didn't we spend more time showing that and not giving us all this bull crap where we're stopping and smelling the roses? I mean, is it because, it's because the director, Kate Shortland, who was also had a hand in writing it, as all the directors who come in Marvel do have a hand in writing all this stuff, hasn't really done anything for years, and she's really more about doing indie movies, and she refused to do this show. When ScarJo pointed her out to Kevin Feige, was like, this is your person. I liked one of her properties that she made, and rightfully so. Kate Shortland was just like, I'm doing indie movies. This is Marvel. This is like a triple-digit $1 million budget. I don't think I can do that. It's really crazy. To a certain degree, she was right. To a certain degree, she was right, because you can tell she came from that kind of background, because a lot of the good character moments that I did like were some of the shorter scenes, right? Some of the where you're sitting with the characters, where you're having the scenes breathe, right? We don't need explosy rounds, we don't need all of this like fighty, which I thought was like the worst parts of the show, all the fights.
Yeah.
I like the parts where like the multiple Lokis and stuff like that were gallivanting with each other, turning on each other. That stuff is cool. But in the end, you can kind of see where this was a director and / writer who kind of didn't know, okay, well, COVID kind of fucked us up. We had 6 episodes made out of 12. We can't get the 12th going. Here we go. We're going to waste our time doing this, waste our time doing that. And then a gigantic Transformer style, like B-C movie exposition dump, where we're going to kind of show you a little hologram of what's going on. We're going to give you a much interesting story at the end of this thing in the form of little holographic men. And I'm like, you've got to be kidding me. You've got to do better than this. And moving forward, when you're doing these shows, Marvel, come on, man. Like, Joe Biden, come on, man.
Come on, man.
I mean, WandaVision had it. These slow moments. I think Falcon Winter Soldier maybe had maybe one episode or something like that where it just wasn't moving. But I like when we move the story along. Like Mandalorian, as great as that was, had it too. If you're gonna give us these episodes, you fully control the episodes. You fully control where it's being aired on Disney Plus, also in theaters. I just don't get where you're kind of making it like regular TV, where you need to flesh out these episodes and give us these instances that kind of like pad out time. It just drives me insane where we're padding out time. It's nuts.
You said, it's anime filler, man.
Dude,
you know what anime doesn't have any filler though? Full Metal Alchemist.
That's true. It has an entire show of filler.
He did it.
That's a lie.
He did it.
Like
you guys need to go undercover into Marvel think tank. Seriously though, we need to go undercover in the Marvel think tank and be part of the writers' room where they're just like, hey, by the way, we're gonna make Taskmaster not Taskmaster. But
don't you get me started.
So guys, Loki has finally ended. Season 2 is coming. But isn't season 2 technically like the movies? I mean, what's this season 2? We're gonna go into the movies. I don't understand that.
Yeah.
This universe exists out of time and space as well. So technically, like what happens in Loki, the second part of it, like, does it really matter, and does it actually have to line up with the movies? The answer is basically no.
Yeah.
Right.
You could resolve whatever arc happens in the show in one of the movies, and then season 2 could just be fallout from one of the films.
Yeah, we'll see what happens. I mean, the multiverse is here. So, and chances are it's probably not going away. And if it is going away, if it collapses back into one main timeline, that's probably going to be like the finale of all, like phase 4 or all of this stuff. So does it really matter? But like, where are they going to go from here? It's a good question.
What do you think?
Do you guys hope that it does all end? Like,
in what regard?
Like the world? No, I'm just kidding. Yeah, like, no, like, I don't know. Like, or do you think they're going to continue on? You know what I mean? Because we've had like what, 20 years of Spider-Man movies at this point. You know what I mean? Seems like DC kind of. You know what I mean? Like, does the, when did we get into this renaissance? Like 2001 with X-Men and stuff like that. With comic book movies.
Well, yeah, no, 2000 X-Men really sort of defined thing. I mean, you could argue Blade even.
Yeah.
Really, in what 98?
Yeah.
What it was like the first modern sort of comic book movie. I mean, it really kind of depends on how far you go back, because like you could go back to 91, The Rocketeer. It's the same director as Captain America: The First Avenger. It feels a lot like a very similar movie. I would argue X-Men really started it in 2000. Apparently, and I only because I read this online, because I don't remember a lot of things that happened when I was 8 years old. Blade was marketed as a horror film, not a superhero film.
Yep.
Yeah, because I remember not wanting
not
to
know
see
that.
that when I was a kid, because I didn't like horror movies as a kid.
Yeah, my parents had to watch it first to make sure it was good.
Yeah. And Blade, and Blade 2 is Guillermo del Toro, and it's straight up a horror movie.
Oh yeah.
Big time. So I would say, yeah, X-Men really started the modern superhero trend. But I mean, this whole generation of superhero films owes everything to 2008's Iron Man.
100%.
That's true.
100%.
Yeah. Where do you
Thanks, John
where
Favreau.
do you want this to go, Casey?
Where do I want it to go? I just want them to keep getting weird with it. I want Loki to return in Multiverse of Madness. I think he deserves it. You get Marvel's 3 most, premier magicians all under one roof, all solving a problem that they each really have a hand in. You've got Wanda creating pocket universes. You've got Loki, or a version of Loki, responsible for, the creation of the second iteration of the multiverse, right? Like, because the first one was it existed with all the other Kangs and already resolved itself before any of this even happened.
That's true.
And then you have Doctor Strange, whose responsibility to the universe and all universes is to maintain cosmic balance. They've all got a hand in it, folks. They've all got a hand in it.
Up close magic nerds getting ready to take over Phase 4.
Oh yeah, who could forget the last great magician of the Marvel universe, Ant-Man, or Randall Park, Jimmy Woo.
Yeah, that's true. He'll be more important than we realize.
The Sorcerer Supreme got a significant downgrade.
Yeah, a little bit. He's trying. He's just so earnest, though. You can't help but root for him.
You love it.
Oh, I kind of like what Rarucci said in the chat. It will all end, and then Phoenix Force will rebirth the universe with Galactus. Interesting.
I'm not ready
That's
for
a
that.
lot.
That's a lot of concepts to throw all at once. The Phoenix and Galactus.
Bro, you're gonna blow the general audiences have to get this stuff for Rarucci. You're gonna blow their minds. It kind of has to.
Yeah.
It kind of has to work with them. But Loki was an interesting show. The ending was something spectacular, and Marvel can literally go anywhere with this now. They've really opened up the floodgates to their creativity. I mean, they can just create and create and create. I mean, the next Spider-Man movie is going to be bonkers. It's going to have everything in it, throw the whole kitchen sink, and then not to mention Doctor Strange, the Multiverse of Madness. I mean, who knows what that's going to happen in it? And then after that, I mean, because we still have a multiverse, what's going to happen with the Eternals? I mean,
who cares?
I completely forgot about it.
Yeah, I was thinking about that because they showed us a trailer, but this is all before this whole multiverse Loki thing blew up. So now does that also play in the Eternals movie?
The Eternals, a series of characters who have been here all along and stood by and did nothing.
Yeah, and
real interesting, guys.
And because He Who Remains had the script, for everything, were they written as well? Was Thanos does nothing matter because everything was written? Is that what the choice was? But so the whole Iron Man.
Is that the angle?
Yeah. Is that because I've seen some conversation people were like, well, it all doesn't matter then. Iron Man snapped with the gauntlet because it was already written. Thanos wasn't necessary because it was already written. Does nothing matter?
They imply that in the show. Loki's like, oh, the Avengers are the real criminals. Meanwhile, he has no idea that in 12 years the Avengers are going to have a wacky time adventure, right? Because it's 2012 Loki. He has no idea what they're up to.
That's true.
And,
yeah, and sure enough, it's like, oh, the Avengers did what they were supposed to do. It's just like, all right, sure, you got it, Chief.
Yeah.
I'll just
We got a
accept
pal.
this. I'll just accept this reasoning for no arbitrary reason other than you said so. Okay. You betcha.
True.
Gotcha.
Oh, man. Yeah. But yeah, man, Marvel's Loki. It was a very fun ride. Can't wait to see
What a ride.
else we have in store coming up in the Marvel universe.
I will say real quick, I'm glad that it occurred on Wednesday. It kind of spiced Wednesdays up for me a little bit, you know?
Oh yeah.
I mean, I do like Friday because like the weekend and stuff like that, and you get your Marvel, your Disney Plus stuff. But I don't know. I was happy to see that.
Thank you guys for hanging out and watching us talk about the Loki Marvel Studios show and going into the spoiler discussion. You guys make sure to like our YouTube channel, share, subscribe, tell all your friends, tell your family, tell your dog, and we'll catch you guys later or catch you another time.